Hi everyone, thank you for joining the Fight with Teddy Atlas. I'm Teddy Atlas III, joined by International Boxing Hall of Famer, my main man, my father, Teddy Atlas. How you doing, bud?
Good, buddy. Thanks for getting up early. For the people out there, of course you don't know unless I tell you. We're recording, we're back on Sunday recording. Last couple of weeks we had to do it on Monday because of different events going on, different fights going on, so we could get everything. We didn't want you guys to miss anything. We are conscientious over here, if you haven't noticed. And we care about you guys. You know, it's all about you guys. If you guys, I mean, there's no reason to do this if you're not there. So we try to get everything to you. We're doing early version Sunday morning, 9 o'clock New York time, but 6 in the morning Las Vegas West Coast time, my son. So I just want to say, if my son looks a little tired, go light on him. Go light on him because he's gotten up very early for you guys over there on the West Coast to get this done. And the reason we had to do it so early today on Sunday is because my charity foundation has its bowling fundraiser. We do a few fundraisers a year to raise money to help people. The big dinner in November is the big one. We have a golf outing in September. And then we have a couple others. But the bowling event is today, where people enjoy it. They come with their families. They come with their kids. And they bowl. And they bowl to have fun, have a great day. And also to raise money so we can continue to do the things we do to help people that are less fortunate than all of us. So thank you for coming early, Rich, my man Richie, Ben, and my son, for especially out west. You know, before we get started, I just think it's fair to say, being that we're New Yorkers over here, New Yorkers, the Knicks, first time in 25 years that they've made it back to the Eastern Conference Finals. And how ironic is it? 25 years ago when they made it back, who did they play? They played the Indiana Pacers, who beat them. This year they're going to try to reverse that, obviously. I think that was the Reggie Miller year when Reggie Miller destroyed them. When he... I think that was the year. I'm not sure. Reggie Miller, of course, a legendary player, Hall of Fame player, but he was the Knick killer.
He was the Nick killer. Yeah, it was awesome to watch it, but to your point, it's been way too long since the Knicks have been in that kind of game, let alone advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. To see Madison Square Garden alive, the electric atmosphere and the fans, it's been too long, and it was fun to watch, and it brought me back great memories as a little kid. You're talking about the Knicks and the Pacers. Well, one of those series they last played in, we were at one of the greatest games ever. Larry Johnson 4-point play at Madison Square Garden versus the Pacers, I believe it was. So it brought back great memories as a kid being there with you, and excited to see if they could do it in the next round.
Yeah, and look, the Knicks, it just... I'm not trying to be a braggart, or, my city's any better than anyone else's city, right? Our city's better than anyone else's. But it is New York City. It is one of the biggest cities, the most famous cities in the world. They should have a winning sports franchise, and they haven't been doing. They haven't been. The Jets, forget about it. The New York Giants, forget about it.
Yeah, New York Mets, 1986. We could go on and on. It's been way too long.
The Yankees been a minute. I mean, the Yankees made it to the World Series last year, but they didn't win it. Yankees supposed to win every year, I guess. What do they got? 25 championships, whatever it is. I think it might be the most of any sports franchise, or if it's not the most,
26, I believe.
Yeah, so 26 of them, but. They made it they lost to the Dodgers last year, obviously, in the World Series. But, okay. But the Mets are getting better. The Mets are getting better. My man Matt Sanduli is involved with the New York Mets, and I was with him for, my God, over 25 years at ESPN. I'm so happy that the Mets have him over there, and he's doing a great job over there. That makes it extra fun to know that somebody's there with the team that you care about. But New York just supposed, you would think, is supposed to have a winning. I know you got the New York Liberty. I don't want people jumping on me saying, "Oh, you didn't mention the New York Liberty." I just mentioned them, but the Giants, the Jets, the Knicks for years very disappointing. The Rangers for years were disappointing. They came back. I don't know how they're doing right now. I know you probably know more about it than me, but the Rangers.
The Rangers missed the playoffs this year. Disappointing season after a really good year last year. The Islanders as well. Another New York franchise hasn't won in a long time.
Yeah, and that's one who had won like 5 in a row back in the day. I think it was 5 in a row back in the day with Mike Bosley and and all those Billy Smith and the goalie, money player. Billy Smith was the goalie. He was like Minnesota Fats in pool. He was the money player. If there was a money game, there was a game that you had to win. You wanted him in the goal, And if somebody got in the crease that was trying to block the crease, he would crack him over the head with his stick. I mean, that was Billy Smith. Billy Smith was a fighter. He was a winner and he was a fighter. But yeah, it's nice to have a New York team, relevant again. It really is. And
it
again,
makes the
thank
NBA
you for
better.
coming
You
so
can
early.
feel it watching the games. The NBA is better when you have a team like the Knicks in the mix.
Yeah. I mean, look, the networks are happy. Obviously, the networks, it's all about this, right? It's all about the money. They want big market teams. They want the big market teams, whether it's New York, L.A., whatever. They want them in there, obviously, when it comes to the playoffs. So thanks for getting up early. All right.
You got it, bud. And we will circle back on some Knicks talk hopefully next week. They'll be getting some wins in the Eastern Conference Finals. But we'll jump right into the fight action. Not a ton of fights this week, but we did have some action. We're going to start off across the pond in the UK. We had a rematch, Johnny Fisher versus David Allen, heavyweights. Now, we were at the first fight in Saudi Arabia. Very controversial ending. A fight that I thought that Allen won handily. Went to the scorecards, and he was robbed by making it a draw. Only 5 months ago, we get the rematch. Both guys a little bit heavier this time around, but an eerily similar result. Now, I thought the first fight, Fisher, a former rugby player, was just big, strong, tough, rugged. He was trying to bring it to Allen, and when that didn't work, he started to gas. Things turned the other way. This time, I thought he was trying to use his size and box more on the outside, but the pressure of Allen still got to him, and he started to gas. And then here comes the 5th round in the first fight. This is the round that Fisher was dropped and knocked down in. Well, this time around, this is the round that Allen stops the fight in. He drops Fisher, hurts him. Fisher gets up, shows a lot of heart. And then Allen, with a big left hook, finishes him as the towel was coming in to stop the fight. 5th round knockout for Allen. What'd you make of this fight in the heavyweight clash?
Listen, these guys aren't going to fight for the heavyweight title anytime soon. But that doesn't mean they don't get their day. They don't get their moment. Especially when you're fighting in a local venue, you're fighting in a country where you come from, over in England, where the fans support you and they support fighters. These both guys are fighters. Again, they're not going to win world titles, but they're both fighters. And they both gave their all. And Allen is just the prototypical journeyman. He's got like 7 losses, 4 times he's been stopped. Every time he's moved up, really, if you're going to be fair about it, I love the guy. But every time that he's moved up in competition to that, that level that really you have to get to if you're going to do anything big in the sport, make money and do something big in the sport, he's lost. And that's what really accounts for the fights where he's been stopped. He's a journeyman. He looked like a journeyman. He had his cup up high. I mean, you got to love the guy. Really, he had his cup up high. He didn't want nobody hitting him. It was higher than it should have been. Trying to get away with whatever he could get away with. That's experience. That's being a journeyman. That's being smart. That's having gloves will travel. That's what he looks like. A guy that, he gets the phone call, he's got the bag ready, he goes. I mean, you need guys like that. You need guys like that for the top fighters to fight on their way up, to get to that place. Without them, you don't have a sport. You need guys like that. And also, you need to be reminded of how the Rocky movie came. That it came all about somebody having a dream. You still have to have guys that are dreaming about being a champ. Guys that are still out there, whether or not they quite have the talent, they're still out there giving their all, saying, I want to be champ. I want a chance at the big bite. I want to bite at the apple. I want a chance, to get in there and do the impossible. To dream, to dream, to have other people reminded that you do dream, that you do aspire to be great. And that's all that matters, that you give it your best, that you try, that you go out there and you don't say, I can't make it. No, you go out there and you put yourself in there and you give it the best you can, and you come up short at the next level. You're not quite that, but you still went in that arena and heard the crowd. There's something to be said about that. You still got in that arena. What was that great saying by one of the great statesmen? I don't know if it was from England, who it was, one of the great statesmen, the man who could go into the arena and fight the fight and hear the crowd and know that he gave it his all. That is the man that you want on your side. That's Allen. And give Fisher credit. Fisher, he wanted this rematch. Allen, being such a journeyman and so much experience, he's too developed, he's too experienced for Fisher. We saw Fisher, big rugby player. You described it right. Big, tough guy, showed a lot of heart in that first fight. I thought Allen got robbed. But Fisher was undefeated. They were protecting the undefeated guy. They were hoping that they could get him to a payday. They were hoping they could develop. He was the promoter's fighter. And I thought he got a gift. But in a way, he earned the gift. He got dropped in the 5th round over in Saudi. That's what makes this fight so almost surreal. That the same round, but this time Allen didn't let it go to the judges, as they say. When he had the guy hurt, he finished him. He said, I'm not letting it go to the judges. People say that, but they don't back it up. He really backed it up. But in that first fight, even though I thought Fisher got a gift, he earned the gift by the heart, by the toughness, coming off the floor in the 5th round and getting better in the late rounds. He won some of those, he won the early rounds, and then he started to get banged around. He got dropped in the 5th. He started to get banged around in the late rounds, but he survived the late rounds after winning the early ones. He got a lead, and then he lost the late rounds, but he hung in, and he fought back even late in the fight. When he was taking a lot of punishment. He showed a lot of heart, but he showed that he was very raw. I remember saying to you, this guy's raw. He's got to be taught. He's not ready yet. He's like pulling something out of the oven. You look at it, nope, put it back. Ain't ready. And it was so evident that, he leaves his jab out there. Yeah, as people say, he's big. He's got a good jab. I heard the commentators in England yesterday talking like they're trying to figure something out. They're trying to figure out some argument they can make that he's going somewhere. And listen, just shoot it straight. He's too raw. He's too green. He's a rugby player, tough as hell. Yeah, give him more time, but he ain't ready. Yeah, could he? Did he show heart? Did he show the? Yeah, but he also showed how raw and green he was and unprepared he was in so many areas. Saying, "Oh, he's got a good jab." He leaves his jab out there like the Statue of Liberty. You don't leave your jab out there. If the Statue of Liberty did it, they take the torch off of it. But in this case, Mr. Allen banged him a right hand because he leaves it out there. Again, I was loving the commentary at the end when they were doing the post-fight stuff, trying to make an argument, and one of them says, this drives me nuts, but what the hell does this mean? He says, but yeah, he was too, maybe he should go back to being on the back foot. What? I'm sorry, I'm not, but maybe he should go back to being more on the back foot, where before he was on the front foot. Front foot, back foot. How about he just gets taught more? How about he's just not prepared generally? Back foot, front foot. What are we doing here? Trying to sound like we're making some kind of salad here? Some kind of word salad? It ain't gonna help the fighter in the ring. It ain't real. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and
who said it's ridiculous? It was in The Godfather. And I don't want to be made to look ridiculous. The guy, the big shot movie guy. But look, to finish up on it, Bud, and then I'll let you just take it. I'm sorry. But just to finish up on it, experience matters. As much as Allen is not ready for the top guys, he is still far, far ahead of a Fisher because he's been in there, because he's been around, because even because I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little funny, because he even knows what he's not. He knows what he's not, but he knows what he is. And he recognizes when another guy isn't. He recognizes that like a lion in the prairie, in the safari, that recognizes a gazelle that's staggering away from the pack right away and says, that gazelle is my next meal. That gazelle is not protected. That gazelle is ready to be eaten. That's what an Allen, that's what the experience, that's what fighting all those fights, being a journeyman does. He recognized right away that Fisher, where he's missing things, where he's just not ready. Right away, he was like the lion just waiting for that next meal. He even knew he could go 8 pounds up. He looked a little sloppy. He looked a little heavy. Let's be honest. We call it straight here. He looked a little chunky in the belly, but it didn't matter because he knew what he had in front of him. He knew what he wasn't because he recognizes in himself that he ain't a certain level to go to that, but he knows he's a level that can compete. And Allen, Fisher is not. He's just not. Maybe one day he will be. But he's not. And to talk about an honest fighter, how can you not root for this guy, Allen? How humble he is, how honest, how straightforward. He told Fisher, this should be talked about even more. He told Fisher, he said, look, you're not ready for the rematch. Don't take it. You're a good bloke. You're a good fella, mate. He's a respectful, good guy. He said, don't take it. You're not ready for it. I'll knock you out again. But
you just took the words right out of my mouth. Exactly right. He is a guy you have to root for, Allen. And it was genuine. He wants the payday. He wants the rematch, but he was saying it as a friend because they are good friends. Sincere and genuine that this isn't good for your career. You need to develop more. You need to have some more fights. I will knock you out the next time. And he did it. And to your point, Fisher only 9 or 10 amateur fights going in. He just didn't have the experience of Allen. Allen, although he's come short, he's been in there with Dillian White. He's been in there versus Luis Ortiz. He's been in there versus David Price, the former Olympian. So it showed. I think you nailed it. And I root for both of these guys. Fisher, I know he got a late start. He's still only 26. But what a tough, hard fighting, honest fighter, and you nailed Allen. How could you not root for that guy in the way he handles himself before and after the fight?
And I
I
hope he
think
gets a payday.
I think this
Really.
might be wild, but to what you just said, but hope he gets a payday. How about Allen versus Anthony Joshua? Comeback fight for Joshua? UK?
Deserves it. He earned it. He earned it. He earned the right, and plenty of people be rooting for him. Talk about real Rocky stories. We talk about real life Rocky stories. We just did our list of my favorite, greatest movies, boxing movies of all time, right? And the first Rocky is on there. And one of the things, and you guys could see it, it's up. You just go watch it, the list. But I said when I was making my case for every movie, I said that there's something, it's a great movie when a phrase and a saying comes out of it that is around, it winds up being around all the time, and it becomes a catchphrase. And you hear all the time now, that's a real life Rocky moment. That movie was special. And this would be a real life Rocky moment to have, Allen fight somebody like Joshua. I don't know that he would do real well, but I know one thing. I know that he would give it his all. I know that he would, he's got the experience to go in there. He's been in there, of course, at a top level before. He has come up short, but who knows? Who knows? At this point in his career, where he's at mentally and where he's at in his life, and where Joshua is coming off, a really rough loss, a devastating loss, a loss that can take away a lot of your confidence. Who knows? Yeah, that's a good one, Mr. Matchmaker. We might have to change that hat there. That's a nice hat. I love it. The fight, great hat. But we might have to change it or put on the side of it Matchmaker, because that might not be a bad one. But let's move on. But you said, great story.
Yeah, absolutely. Great story, great performance by Allen. Before we move on, I want to just take a quick pause to thank today's sponsor, Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens introduces the new AG1 Next Gen. Now includes 5 clinically studied probiotic strains shown to support digestive and immune health with added vitamins and minerals. They've also now have new travel pack designs resulting in a much easier pour to improve the customer experience. So whether you guys are looking to boost your energy levels, support your immune system, or address gut health, Athletic Greens is the way to go. Simply visit athleticgreens.com/atlas to claim your special offer of 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. So now we're going to move on to the other boxing action in the States. From California, we had Sergey Bohachuk fighting Michael Fox. Now, Bohachuk, #1 mandatory WBC 154-pound ranked fighter. He's 2 fights removed from his great fight versus Virgil Ortiz, which he came up short, lost a majority decision on the scorecards. He's bounced back with a win in Saudi Arabia versus Ishmael Davis, 6-round knockout in his last fight. We were at that fight live in Saudi Arabia. This was a stay busy fight for him on UFC Fight Pass to stay in the rankings, again, as the #1 mandatory. He fought a guy, Michael Fox, very similar to Fundora in his frame. Very tall, long at that 154 pounds. Wasn't the best fight, most action fight. But in the end, Bohachuk stays busy, was the aggressor coming forward, gets the win, and he's still the #1 WBC ranked 154 pounder. What do you think of Bohachuk and him moving forward?
Yeah, listen, Bohachuk, first of all, could they put the fight on any later? I like to put my hand up. Put it on later. Put it on later. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, who the heck can watch it? First of all, how are you even going to find it on Fight Pass? That's the first difficult thing, is to get the app and get it on Fight Pass. Okay, you get that done, and then you got to wait. You got to wait till God knows what time. I mean, depending on what what part of the world you're watching it in. I mean, it's just they get later and later. Some of these fights, it's ridiculous. Look, with Bohachuk, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that's going to throw a lot of leather, a tough guy that's going to come in the front door, and if you don't do something to stop him from coming in that front door, then he's going to get into your kitchen, he's going to get in your living room, and he's going to wreck all the furniture. I mean, that's how he fights. That's it. That's how he fights. Hey, and he'll fight that way, every time. Yeah, he's predictable. He's one-dimensional. But, technically he's solid. He keeps his hands up. You can't hit him, though, because he does come in a predictable way, straightforward for the most part. Throws a million punches, great condition, great heart, great engine, never stops. You have to hurt him. You have to either box like a son of a gun, like a demon on the outside, not let him close the gaps on you, and pop, 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 move, pop, 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 and be able to do that all night, or you got to be able to hurt him. Because this guy is, like I said, he's coming to take over your house. He's moving in like Jimmy McMahon, my former fighter, the great person that he is. He listens to the podcast every once in a while. Maybe he's listening now, but Jimmy McMahon, he's the best. Like he said, they're like Irish cousins, Teddy. They're coming to stay for a week, and then 8 years later, there they are. They're still there. That's Bohachuk. He's Irish cousins. He coming for a minute. No, he ain't leaving. He ain't leaving. And again, you could say all you want about how predictable he is, which he is, but and one-dimensional. But it's a heck of a one dimension. And you know that if you're sliding through the channels and you're trying to figure out which fight you're going to watch, or if you're going to watch fights on a particular night, you see he's fighting, you're probably stopping because he's bringing action.
Yeah, no question. And we will see what's next. It sounds like Fundora might do the rematch with Tim Tszyu, and then maybe that means we'll get the rematch of Bohachuk and Virgil Ortiz. Always a Fight of the Year candidate. I'd love to see that one.
I think Ortiz, it was very close, that first fight, real quick. A lot of people thought Bohachuk won, actually. Real close fight. But I just think that Ortiz has grown to another. I just think he took one of those steps, that fight. As a trainer, I'm putting my trainer's hat on. As a trainer, I noticed something in that last fight with Ortiz. I just think that he's taken that step as a fighter, inside himself. And I think that as many good things as you've seen from Ortiz, you're going to see maybe even more. Because I think that he has sort of taken that step inside his mind.
Yeah, I could see what you're saying. And the Madrimov fight was a good test in that learning curve for him. So I would agree with you. We'll move on to the UFC action. That wraps it up for all the boxing fights for this weekend. With that being said, we were in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Apex. We had the veteran Gilbert Burns fighting Michael Morales. And you texted me right before the fight. You said before the KO, Morales had the frame like the thin, tall boxers with power, like Tommy Hearns, like Arguello, Zarate, Foster, Deontay Wilder, and others. And man, he did not waste any time to display that power. What a performance by him. He looked like the real deal. He looks like a problem and a real player in this welterweight division. And Michael Bisping said it on the broadcast after the fight. You talk about what a performance. I know Burns is 38 years old now, maybe a little shop-worn. He's been in a lot of tough fights, but nobody has done that to him. Morales destructs him 1 round. What'd you think of Michael Morales and his performance overall?
Yeah, those wiry guys, those tall, wiry, thin guys, he's built strong, don't get me wrong, but those wiry, tall guys, they get leverage, they get torque in their punches. Every one of them. I mean, they all the ones I mentioned, man, they hit you on top of the head, they fracture your ankles. Those guys, like the old, yeah, Richie likes that. He's smiling, like the old timers would say. And what I liked about him is he knows he can punch, he knows he can hurt you, and he behaves like a puncher. He goes right out there and he knows even the punches earlier that Burns took, he took some pretty good shots early. And a lot of guys might get a little thrown off and say, okay, let me go to this now. Let me go box more. Let me do this more. The guy handled my shot. Not Morales. No, he didn't. He had that understanding, that confidence, that belief of what he is. I'm a puncher. And even if a guy acts like the punch didn't hurt him, I know that it will. I know that maybe it even did. But he's such a veteran, he's not showing it. But I'm just going to keep doing it because I know what my power is. He knows what he is. I always say it's so important for a fighter to know what they are. Sounds so simple, so simplistic, but it's so important to have that identity. He knows he's a puncher. He knows, like I say, punches, are not made. They are born. He understands that, and he brings it. And he does it, he does it with good technique too. What I liked about him is not only the power and the finishing ability when he got him hurt, but his eyes, that he saw the openings. Like Burns was covered up good. So what did he do? He aimed his shot behind the glove, where the opening would be there behind the ear, around the ear, instead of towards the chin that was blocked by the glove. So if he drew the traditional straight, and I know a lot of people would say, well, I want to see the straight punch. He looped his shots. But he looped them with a purpose, knowing that that's where the opening was. Those eyes combined with that power, with that attitude, with that identity, the understanding of what he is, right down to his bones. He's a problem. He's a problem. I mean, you're gonna have to have a hell of a defense, and counter the crap out of him, and hope that you can bang a little bit to slow him down. Otherwise, you got a problem.
Big problems. Yeah, I'm with you. He is a problem for anybody in that welterweight division. And it's been since April 2022 of the brutal fight that Gilbert Burns had versus Khamzat Chimaev. I wonder how much that took out of him. Again, I know he's 38 years old, but you always talk about no easy fights in UFC. Well, now, for Gilbert Burns, besides Morales, his 3 fights before that, Sean Brady, Jack Della, Magdalena, and Bilal Muhammad. The top 3 guys in the division. So, yes, he's coming up short, but he's still fighting the best of the best. We'll see what's next for Gilbert Burns. Maybe retirement at 38 years old.
But when you fight those kind of fights, you leave a part of yourself in the ring or in the cage. When Ali fought Frazier in Manila, those guys, they didn't come all the way home. Part of them was left over there in Manila. Part of both of those great men. They were never the same. And the same thing, with the Burns. You couldn't be more on the button. I'm gonna fool around with you again. I joke with you and stuff, but I go into one of those movie things again with the De Niro movie. Analyze this. You could, you could, because it's so true. All of Burns is not getting in the cage anymore because it's not all there anymore. It's that simple. I'm taking nothing away from Morales. But that's just a physiological fact with these fighters. A lot of people don't estimate that. They don't think about that. Why would they think about it, I guess? Whatever. But it is a fact. There's no doubt about it. And the last thing I'll say about Morales, as far as him now going to be tested at the higher levels, and they're all levels, and they come at you fast in a place called the UFC. They come at you fast, you know. They should have a sign. You know, Notre Dame football, they have a play like a champion today. They should have a sign. I'm going to tell Dana, put a sign up, in the UFC complex. No free lunch. because that is the truth. And for me, the one thing I add to Morales, if he's going to have that longevity, down the road, is he didn't have to show it against Burns yet, or in that fight, but learn how to fight tall. That's the one thing I want to know about him. Does he know how to use those great? I know he knows how to use his power. Does he know how to also use those great physical attributes of height and length and make it a little easier for himself and a little harder for opponents that don't have those assets by controlling the outside and making it even harder for them to try to get to him? And as I would always say, go through a bad neighborhood and mug them. If he starts learning to do that, well, I'll go back, like I said a few minutes ago. You got even a bigger problem.
Yeah, look forward to watching Morales fight again. Maybe Ian Gary. So many fights, welterweight division heating up. So
that would be interesting, wouldn't it? Because of those two guys and the talent, the ability, and even the size of both of them. They're both long. They're both tall. Yeah, that would be quite interesting. And Gary had a little bit of I don't know if it's fair to say, a little bit of a scare in his last fight, in the last minute of the fight where he got hurt.
Yeah, absolutely he did. Prates might have let him off the hook those final couple of seconds, but yeah, he did. And that would be a great one. We will see.
He might want to cut down. He might want to cut down to maybe 2 packs a day instead of 3 packs. And I'm only kidding. I have nothing but respect for that man. That man's a monster. But part of the legend about him is he smokes, right?
Yeah, Carlos Prates, big time. And just like we had said when we covered that fight, like Ricardo Mayorga was in the boxing world, big smoker after the fights, before the fights.
In the locker room.
In the locker room. Doesn't matter. He needs a cigarette. But we that wraps it up for all the fight action this week. Wasn't a ton of fights, but we did cover the couple in boxing and obviously the UFC main event there at the Apex in Las Vegas. Before we sign off for today, I just want to cover some boxing news. And I want to start off and ask you about the return of Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, 46 years old now, has announced that he's going to return to the ring in July versus the WBC interim champion, welterweight champion, Mario Barrios. Now, 46 years old, he's not completely inactive. His last professional fight was over 4 years ago in the ring. That was a tough one. That was against the Cuban Ugas. But he's had some recent exhibition matches, with the most recent one being in July, and that was a tough one. He took some punishment in that fight. I know it was an exhibition, but it was a tough exhibition match. I thought after that, I wouldn't like to see Manny fight anymore. Well, for whatever the reasons may be, Manny Pacquiao is coming back. And with that being said, there's a lot of people that are criticizing the fight. Not as much as Manny coming back at his age, but more so that he's skipping the line. That he goes right into the top 5 of the WBC, skips the line, and he fights for the title. Eddie Hearn, Juan Manuel Marquez, and many others have voiced their displeasure with this. In response, the WBC president Mauricio Suleiman has defended his organization's decision. They stand by it. And he said, hey, my father received a lot of criticism when Ray Leonard was going to come back, Sugar Ray, and fight Marvin Hagler. What do you make of this fight, of Pacquiao coming back, and just of the decision by the WBC overall?
Look, Suleiman is the head. He followed in his father's footsteps. He's kept that organization in a powerful place, so you give him credit for that. Like him or hate him, he's a businessman. He's gone over to Saudi Arabia where everybody else is going over there. He's kept himself front and center. He's kept himself relevant, and his organization relevant. He's doing what a president of a company has to do, and he's doing his job. He's doing that. As far as what he says and the reasons for things, people have a right to question those reasons too, And as far as, first of all, I'd appreciate more people just, again, just cut to the chase and just shoot it straight, rather than use Leonard as an example with his father, which, okay, that's fair, but just use like I do with the movies and just go right to The Godfather and say, hey, it's business, baby. It ain't personal. Because, if we get past all the crap, it's business. And, look, Suleiman has a right to use that one, to pick that one. He's thinking on his feet. He's coming up with something. He's coming up with some history. Leonard with Hagler, there were people that Leonard had been, of course, inactive. He's going to fight to move up in weight, even though he had moved up. He had already fought at light heavyweight. He dropped back down to middleweight. So it wasn't like Leonard hadn't tested the waters at a heavier weight. But look, he had been inactive. He was fighting a great Marvin Hagler. It was later in Hagler's career. Talk about a tough fight, leaving some in the ring. Hagler had just come off the Mugabe fight. I always thought that took something out of Marvin. Taking nothing away, everyone knows I love Ray Leonard. He's one of my favorite people, one of my favorite fighters in the whole world. He could fit into any era. And I got him listed in a list showing that he's one of my greatest and fits into any era. Even the 1700s, like some of you wise guys say, that I love the fighters from so far back, even though I don't know any of them from the 1700s, but whatever. So you want to go and use that.
How old was Leonard at that time?
Leonard was only 32 years old when he fought Hagler. Yeah, he'd been inactive, but he was only 32. Pacquiao's 46. So right there you could, it ain't a good comparison. It sounds good. It sounds good, yeah, because Leonard did come back. Leonard did win a very close fight, a controversial fight, but a great fight. And Leonard was great. There's no doubt about it. And he cut the line. He earned it. Leonard, you could say, and you could say Pacquiao earned the right with all his greatness to cut a lot of lines. Yeah, I see it all the time. The other day I was at a benefit. The foundation was given something by St. Philip's Church, 155-year-old church, great church, do great work in the community. I sure as hell didn't know I was going to be talking about this. And they gave us an award for helping them in the community, what the foundation does. We don't need an award. We're privileged that we can help. But people feel they inclined to do that, fine. It's very nice. And your mom asked for a drink. So I went up to the bar to get a drink. I didn't realize that there was a long line. And so I went right to the front, not understanding that I passed the line. And then a friend of mine said, You cut the line. And the whole line said, Teddy, that's okay. I said, no, I didn't realize I cut the line. I'll go back. So I went back, I waited in line. But they were going to allow me to cut the line. I guess because I'm handsome. I guess because I had a nice suit on. I had a nice tie. Whatever. But out of some kind of respect, which I really appreciate, whether I deserve it or not, they were letting me cut the line. So I understand that some people get the privilege, they get the respect, the allowance of cutting a line. I'm not against that. I'm not complete. Yeah, I know you make the argument there's other guys that deserve to shot more, that you step past them. But that's always going to be the case. I mean, are you kidding me? If we're going to start now talking about that kind of stuff, then what about these ridiculous number one contenders that sometimes you wonder, how did they become a number one contender? I wonder how. Yeah, come on. You really wonder how? But how did you watch them and you see them, you say, oh my God, they made that guy a number one contender? They moved him up from where I didn't even know who he was yesterday to now he moved from number 35 in the world to number 1 to fight for a world title. Was that right? How many guys did he pass up? So if you're going to start worrying about guys that are passed, I don't disagree with you. But it's a lot more than every once in a while an iconic fighter stepping up, an iconic, legendary fighter cutting the line. Yeah, so I understand that better than I understand the comparison of Leonard and Hagler as fighters, because Leonard was 32 years old and Leonard had 40 fights at the time. Pacquiao is 46. Let's get to facts. That's what we do here. We get to facts. Pacquiao is 46 years old and has 72 fights. Do the math. Please. Again, I'll repeat it one more time. You want to use that comparison? Leonard was 32 when he fought Hagler. He had 40 fights. Pacquiao's 46 years old, 72 fights, and coming off, as you said, Bud, an exhibition where you have to worry about the way he looked. He didn't look good. He took punishment from a bigger guy, but a guy who wasn't a high-level fighter. And it's got to worry you if you're a human being. I'm just talking now not as a boxing guy. I'm talking now as a member of something called the human race. I think I'm a member of that. And I like to stay a member. And the only way that you can really stay a member, there's no dues that are involved. There's no membership, fees. You just have to care about your fellow human beings. That's how you keep your membership. And in that way, I'm very concerned. I don't want to stop anyone from making a living, from making money. But I'm very concerned with a guy, a great man, who's helped his people, who's fought for his people, who's lifted his people up, who's given away money to his people, probably too much. But he gave away money to his people, that is in a position now that he has to fight at 46 after 72 fights. I'm concerned that he's got to fight a young guy that has been active, and I'm concerned. I'm concerned about that. That's it for me.
I'm with you. And I am concerned as well, being a huge Manny Pacquiao fan, the only 8th division world champion in boxing history. I do want to ask you this, though. At the welterweight class division, where Ennis is a champion, Brian Norman is a new young champion on the scene. We're not talking about Pacquiao versus them. We're talking about Mario Barrios, and taking nothing away from him. A big win when he won the title and upset Ugas, and Ugas gave a vicious beating to Manny Pacquiao in his last fight. I know Styles makes fights, throw that one out. Mario Barrios' last fight was on the undercard of Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, and he had a draw versus a guy, Ramos, who I believe had 6 losses on his record at the time. Is it the right stylistic matchup out of all the champions? Can Manny Pacquiao win the title again and pull off the upset like he did in 2019 when he beat Keith Thurman to win the title at that time?
Listen, you do a great job, bud. You really do. If you get tired of this show, become a prosecutor. You'd be a hell of a lawyer. You'd be a hell of a prosecutor.
We already have one good lawyer in the family. Well, I don't want to be in her shadow.
No, that's a tough shadow. But you'd lay out good cases. That's what I'm trying to say. You bring out things that need to be said. And Barrios is not naturally as big a man as those other welterweights. So start there. That's a fair point. He moved up in weight, Barrios. So he's not a naturally big, natural welterweight. And of course, we understand Pacquiao has moved up. My God, I don't even know when he first turned pro. You would have thought maybe he could have been a jockey.
Yeah,
I mean he was
108 pounds, right?
Yeah, jockeys are about 105 pounds, I think, somewhere around that Neighborhood. I mean, can you imagine him though going to the whip? He might have killed the horse. That's the only thing. Yeah, you would have had Petter. What is it called? Peter, whatever. Peter. You would have had Peter coming after you. You know, look what he did to this horse. You know, but look, I love Pacquiao. One of my favorite people. One of my favorite fighters in the whole world. He's moved up from like whatever. Incredible weight. People forget about that. That's why I brought it up. How many weight classes this man has really moved up. Incredible. Just incredible. But now, yeah, Barrios wouldn't be as big as those other guys, but he's still a guy that's confident. He's a guy that's a world champion. He's a guy who throws a lot of punches. He's a guy who's younger, who's active, you know, who... I know you can't go by this guy beat this guy, but he could beat that guy, but he could beat this guy. But you can't go by that in my business, in this business, because styles make fights. But you're right. He beat Ugas. You could say Ugas was a little older than when he fought him a little bit, than when Pacquiao fought him. Maybe that made a difference, whatever. But he did take a lot of punishment, Pacquiao, in the Ugas fight. I thought that Pacquiao, for his age, at that moment, even though he lost the fight, even though he took punishment, I thought he performed as well as he could. I thought he performed well. I really did. I have to say the truth. I thought he performed well for what he could do at that weight and at that point in his life. But I also thought after that fight, he should probably think about leaving, because he performed as well as he could against a guy who's a good fighter, but against a guy who 5 years earlier he would have handled. And that tells you something. I just think you're playing with fire. That's all I think. Yeah, you could move around, you could move around, you know, navigate a little bit, say this, say that. But there comes to a certain point with everything that no matter how much you move the furniture around, you still know what room you're in. You still know what room. You can't fool yourself. And he's in a room where he's 46 years old with 72 fights. I rest my case, counselor.
Yeah. The last thing I will say, and you made some great points, is you have said this before when it comes to great ones and great champions, that the great ones sometimes have one last one in them. Does he have one last performance in him? We're going to find out in July versus Barrios. My concern, to wrap it up on this, Bud, is that this isn't a one-time comeback fight. And Manny Pacquiao is going to fight again. And if he does win, let's say, it's going to be unification. Whether it's Ennis, whether it's a Raleigh Romero, whoever, I do think there's going to be another one. And that's what I'm even more concerned about.
And that's why you'll be a great prosecutor, because that's what you brought up at the end. And that's so true. It's not one and done. That is so on the point. You know damn well, unfortunately, that the position Manny's in, I don't want to get into his personal stuff, but the saddest part is if he's fighting, but if he's fighting for money at this point in his life, if that's why he's fighting, because he has to, that makes it even sadder and even scarier, which is a good chance that is the case. And I wish and pray it ain't. You know, some people, they fight and continue when they shouldn't because of the limelight, because, you know, they miss it, because that's the only way they're relevant, and all that stuff, you know. But that's dangerous too. All of it's dangerous when you're past your prime and way past your prime. But to that point, you know that it's not just the Barrios fight. If he wins, you know he's fighting one of those fights. And that becomes even a scarier proposition. And if he loses, double down on the scary. Because when he came back to begin with, was for a reason. You would have to say, well, that one fight might have not satisfied that reason. So he'll be there for another one, at least.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great points for a great fighter, and we will be circling back and following up on Manny Pacquiao and Mario Barrios as we get closer to that one. Before we close up, but I want to ask you one more time, sticking with the welterweights, upcoming fight. So Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney. There's been some rumors. Devin Haney is calling for the fight on social media. He wants to fight Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez is saying he wants to fight Boots Ennis. And Turki Al-Shalik has said they are in some early negotiations for Lopez and Ennis. Out of those two fights, for you, which one would you get more excited about, or which one makes more sense to make right away?
I give credit to both these fighters, Haney and Teo, for wanting to challenge themselves. So I'm going to start there. Because how many times we see guys that they're navigating around for the easiest, fight so they can make the money before they go into that more of a danger zone, even though it can always be a danger zone. So that's where I'm going to start. That's where Teddy Atlas starts for me, is that I credit both guys, Haney and Teo, for asking for fights that are really the biggest challenges out there, or some of the biggest challenges out there, where they wouldn't have to go that route. Now, you could make an argument that Haney, I understand it, but I love his pride. That his pride is calling for this fight. Even though he's coming off a year layoff, he's coming off a devastating loss to, in so many areas, physically, mentally, emotionally, devastating loss, to Garcia. And then he comes back with a win that he needed. He just needed I don't want to hear how bad he looked, how this he looked, how bad the fight was. All those fights were bad that weekend, except obviously for Inoue and Espinosa. Other than that, and we live streamed all of them. Go watch. But he needed that fight to come back. And I said it, and I'll say it again. We don't know what Haney is going to be until after that one gimme fight, that one fight he needed, that, like I say about the golfers, when they get the mulligan, you get a mulligan. He's allowed to have that bad performance. For me, in that last fight, because I know where he was coming from. He was coming from a treacherous place, from a devastating place, from a dark place, where he didn't even know if he would be okay until he got back in the ring. So I give him that one. And I give him a lot of credit after that one where he did not look great. He looked like a guy that either needs to find himself to get that confidence back or might never find himself. We don't know. That might have been like sometimes the old times would say after a bad fight where you take a lot of punishment and you get destroyed in that kind of fight. The old timers would say that guy might never be the same. And sometimes they aren't. Sometimes they are. We don't know if Haney is ever going to be the same. And then to call out a tough fight, a real live fight, against the only fighter that weekend, or at least that Friday night in Times Square, that looked good. To call him out, I give him credit. I think his pride is talking maybe more than his brain. Or maybe his brain too. You know why? He needs a fight like that for two reasons. For the public credibility, because a lot of people are down on him. I call it straight here. I'm sorry. He needs it for that. That's smart. But he needs it for himself. He needs it to say, freak this. I was a real good amateur. I was a world champion pro. I don't need 10 more comeback fights. I got the one. I need to know now. Am I back or am I not back? I give him credit. That's his attitude. So that's the first thing. I would like to see that fight. That's an interesting fight. That's an interesting fight because of what I just laid out. I won't even say anymore. And because Tio is a very, very talented fighter who I think only fights at his best when he's challenged. That could be one of those sandwich fights like you talk about in football, where you catch a team coming off a big win, and then all of a sudden it's a sandwich fight. They have a letdown against a team they don't think's that good. That could be one of those for Tio. It could be dangerous, where he looks at Haney from his last fight and he takes him a little soft, takes him a little granted. That's an interesting fight. As far as Tio and Ennis, I love Tio, just like I love Ennis. I love Haney for, challenging himself. I love Tio that he challenged himself with he's moving up in weight again, and he's challenging himself with a naturally big, undefeated Ennis, who a lot of people thought, along with Crawford and along with Spence back then, were the boogeymen of the welterweight division, the boogeymen. And Tio is challenging Ennis, a big, talented, in every way, fighter. Man, I'd like to see that fight too. It's a draw for me. I'd like to see either one for different reasons. I want to see Tio because he does rise up. I don't know how good Tio could be. He's a very talented kid. But I noticed he's got a gift and a curse. A curse when he don't think that somebody is that good, he fights down to their level in his mind. And a gift where when he thinks somebody is really good, he rises up and he finds something special. I want to see how special can Tio be. How far can he rise up? How great can he be? How much does he really know about himself inside that he would challenge himself? And us people out on the outside that think we know something and sometimes we know nothing. We're saying, oh, gee, I don't know about that. And meanwhile, Tio does know. He believes. And he can't wait to show it. And I think Ennis is a guy that a lot of people, he was supposed to be the star, especially after Crawford left. He was supposed to just be the big superstar. And he's terrific. He's won all his fights. But still, he looked real good in his last fight, did what he had to do. But still, people were like, he never quite got there. He never quite lit that flame the way we wanted to see that flame lit. Not quite, And that might not be fair, but it's real. And this could be the fight that he does that. This could be the fight that he does that, and the fight that Tio shows us every ounce of the ability that sometimes he teases us with, that we don't know really how much does he really have. Both those fights. Sign me up.
Yeah, you got me excited. Either one of those fights, sign me up as well. And Teofimo Lopez.
I'm so glad you put that on the roster. I didn't even know we were going to cover that stuff today. You.
To your point, though, Ennis might need this kind of fight now to light that flame at 147, or maybe it never gets lit, because I don't know how much longer he could stay at 147 before moving up maybe to 154 and Virgil Ortiz and other potential fights. And I just want to say for Teofimo Lopez, it might rub some wrong, or might think that it's just talk, because he does talk a lot. But I think it's for real. He really wants these guys. He's not just saying it. And for Haney, he might need this fight, right? I mean, the Garcia fight doesn't seem like that money in that rematch is there right now. If you don't get this fight, what are you talking about? And we just talked about Manny Pacquiao skipping the line. Well, one of the guys he skipped in line was Devin Haney. So Haney needs a fight like this. Makes a lot of sense. I think that was a great breakdown by you. I'd be excited either way. So I am. And with that being said, bud, that wraps up this week's episode. I know you got the big foundation fundraiser coming up here in a little bit. I wish you well, and I just want to give you a couple moments to sign off for all the viewers. Yeah, we're going to listen,
if you like what we're doing, thank that guy, the better looking half. Because he's got me doing more stuff. He's got me working. I thought I was semi-retired. I ain't semi-retired when I have a kid like him. And my daughter, always on top of me. And now they're telling me that I'm being asked to go out and do some more motivational speaking out there in some of the football and college ranks of national teams out there that want me to come speak to them. So they always reminded me, no, Dad, we got more things for you. And my son, he says, no, Dad, you got to do lists. But I did lists. You got to do more lists. You got to do lists. The people like the list. Here's the bottom line. If you guys still continue to like this, the list and the different things that we're putting out there, the different content, that the taskmaster, my son, the guy that, he's got that innocent smile, but yeah, wait till you see him when he puts that whip in his hand and he starts, cracking it and saying, Dad, we got to do more content. We got to do more stuff. So we got another list coming up. We got the lightweight list we're going to do. We also got a list that's coming up that my son decided that it's an interesting list. Matter of fact, he listened to some of you guys out there. You put your thoughts up there, and I don't see that stuff. You know that already. I'm a bit of caveman, right? I need the hieroglyphics, right? I need the hieroglyphics on the wall. I can read that better than I can read stuff on a website. But he got your request, and some of them was, you would love to hear my thoughts on a list of top 10 craziest moments ever to take place in a boxing ring. So you know what? Ask for it. It will be delivered sometimes, especially if you ask my son. And we're going to be doing that list. We're going to be doing the lightweights. We got other lists coming up, other things coming up. Continue to see it. You ask for it, we give it to you. Continue to get your friends to watch it, to come out there and to view it and make comments on it. And as long as you guys continue to embrace it and give us a reason for doing it, my son will continue to crack that whip and say, Dad, no naps today.
That's right. We're going to keep them coming. Be on the lookout this week for the list. We'll be back again next week, airing our new episode for the podcast. And as always, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be with you guys again next week.